let's start with Stuart Adams, because one of the things, I don't want to say that he lost his primary because of AI or the data center per se, but he lost his primary because it became clear that he was corruptly engaging with private interest to sell out the public interest, and AI was implicated in that. And I think that that's actually a pretty common story in the world of, especially now, Silicon Valley big tech. So thing one about the AI revolt to me is that it is a smaller point in a broader backlash between Silicon Valley. So we've got Peter Thiel, who is very, very involved in Silicon Valley investment community and also very involved in JD Vance's rise to power. We've got Stuart Adams back channeling with Kevin O'Leary to help get him connected to the kind of people who can make him allowed to build this massive data center. We've got Elon Musk, who became very, very involved in Donald Trump's election and then became a part of the federal government in Doge, where he dismantled a ton of programs and then left and subsequently became the world's first trillionaire. So I think all of this is connected. And so one thing that I think is happening is that people are really, really frustrated with these very wealthy, very out of touch Silicon Valley billionaires telling them how to live their life and controlling their politics, etc. So that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I think the public statements by a lot of those very same people are so woefully out of touch. Like, it's shocking that the backlash didn't come sooner. Dario Amodei saying AI is going to take every white collar job. It's going to be a total bloodbath, and we're going to dismantle 70% of white collar work. Well, what do you think white collar workers are going to think about that? You know, you can't say stuff like that and then expect to be lauded as a hero.
But I think, the other side to that argument, if I'm, thinking with my Silicon Valley hat on,
Sure.
is that they are saying that what they're doing is they're taking away your burdens from you. And don't you want that?
I would love to believe that Sam Altman wants to take us to the future of Star Trek.
Sam Altman being the CEO of OpenAI.
OpenAI, yes, and formerly president of Y Combinator, a big startup incubator in Silicon Valley. But I just don't.
Why not?
All of the evidence that I see is that these guys are collecting wealth for their own purposes. And if they want me to believe that they're going to take me to Star Trek, I'd like them to prove it before I give them the keys to the kingdom. They're promising, hey, we're going to make a ton of money, and we're so going to make the world a much better place. But if you look at how they're actually effectuating their rise to power, it involves a ton of exploitation of poor communities, both here in the United States and in the global South. So all of these AI algorithms are trained. They are trained primarily on data that's labeled by humans. A huge majority of those humans are paid $2 a day or less, living in the global South, to endlessly look at and flag certain pieces of data. So if you're talking about the kinds of things that power your Flock AI surveillance technology, they're looking at license plates and writing down the license plate number for $2 a day.
And they're doing that outside of the U.S. with none of our strict regulations and rules. These companies and these CEOs are just exporting our data without any of our, consent somewhere else. And you think that's a problem.
That's right. And they're doing the same thing with data centers. If they can't build Stratos in Box Elder County because the democratic system rejects that process, then they're going to do what other companies have done in the past and build them in weaker municipalities in Chile or in Africa or anywhere else where they can exploit and extract. I think that is a big thing that is powering this revolt, is that we're tired of having very wealthy people from Silicon Valley come into our community and extract.